All right, ladies and gents, it's gonna be a little new, different type of video for me. As you guys can see, my hair is semi-straight. I went to bed last night, didn't wrap it up and do anything with it, but my hair is straight and not in my normal natural curly state that I start with from my crochet braids. I have dyed it a new color, but today we're gonna be doing some cornrows because I have some upcoming training with my job that's gonna require me to wear a helmet a lot. Yay, training. So I need something quick and easy and still cute. So we're gonna be doing some straight back feed-in braids today. So I figured I would do how I cornrow my own hair. So the first thing I'm doing is just doing a small part at the nape of my neck because I don't want so much tension, as well as to give me a wider base to try to fit all of my braids straight down on. So the first thing I did is I kind of free guide it with my hand. Just to see if I'm somewhere in the ballpark of straight. And I normally use a paddle brush. Just to brush most of my hair up. So once I have that paddle brush, and I will clip this out the way, just make it a little bit easier. I will go back in with my mirror. And see where I want to adjust that part, which I want it to come down. So on this side. So I'll make that adjustment. Now a little too much. So we'll fix this side, even up. I'm taking that up. And it doesn't have to be perfectly straight, but I want it to be somewhat level. So this is what takes the longest part, getting this braid in the back. So now that I have that, I'm going to be using my shining jam for my braiding gel, and I'm just going to run that along the edge of the part. Just to make sure that part is nice and crisp. The hair I'll be using is by Expressions. It's the 2x 48-inch, and this is in the color number 350, which matches my hair now. It is already pre-stretched, honey. It takes away all that extra work of having to feather the hair and comb through it. If I buy braiding hair, I always buy pre-stretched now that they make this. Because, honey, anybody got time to be stretching their hair? Just some extra 5, 10, 15 minutes that I could be using for something else. So, I'm not doing that. First thing I do is I take the bundle loose, kind of just run my hands over it. Because I'm just going to be doing box braids on this bottom row, I am not going to lay out my bunch of pieces for my feed-in braids. And this is just to take some of the tension off at the nape of my neck, as well as to give me a fuller appearance. And these I'm just going to go through and finger part a few braids back here. So once I have this section that I'm going to be braiding, I'm going to use my clip to move this other section of hair out of the way. I'm going to take my strand of hair that I have separated, will start to braid down. And I haven't braided my own hair in a long time. I used to braid a lot when I was younger, you know, teenage, high school, college. That was everybody's go-to thing, was braids. That was how I made my little side hustle, my money. Everybody would come over and braid. Once I started doing crochet braids, my braiding slowed down, as well as I've gotten older, my fingers hurt. I have psoriasis, so arthritis accompanies that most of the time. So a lot of times when I'm braiding, my fingers will cramp. I still do braids for a few of my clients, and then family. You know, of course, they come over. All of auntie's babies wants their hair box braided or feed-in braids or something like that. Some lock extensions, I will do that, but new clients and all of that, she not doing it. So braid kind of slow now till I get in my rhythm, then I'll speed up. So I braid this guy all the way down to the end, and I'm gonna dip it to seal it. But that is one braid out the way. I'll use my crocodile clip. Take that next section, which I just finger part. I'll get a little bit of the braiding jam just to go on the sides of the part, and then under the bottom just to smooth it up. I'm gonna take my bundle of hair and pinch off another small section. I try to pinch off a size of hair, roughly the size of the part. And I'm going to continue to do this until I get the whole back of my nape done, and I will come back. It will probably be just 4 braids at the back, and then I will show you how I start my feed-in process. All right, so I'm back. I have my 4 braids done down at the nape of my hair. Next thing that I'm going to do is take and split my hair down the center of my head. This is to give me a guideline for how many braids will be on each side of my head. You know, my scalp is so white. So I will clip off one side and then kind of readjust my part based on the need. But the way I do that is the same way I do in the back. I like to kind of just have a normal guide and then take my mirror. And I'm actually really satisfied with the part. Got it right in the first try. Hey! So, I'm gonna take my shine and jam again. And the first thing I do is run that along this part. This is just to help keep that part as crisp as possible, and then if something was to happen, at least I would have a guideline from where the gel is. So I'm actually gonna get the rubber band on this side just to make sure it's being held real tight. Now that I have my guide part in the center, I will actually start to separate my part, and then my part will determine how many pieces of feed-in hair I will use. But whenever I do these braids, I like to start directly from the middle with my first braid and then work my way down to my ears. This just helps so that my spacing right at the top of my head is appropriate. If you start at the ear a lot of times and work your way down, your braids will end up getting like you'll run out of space. So your very last braid will either be wider than the other ones or smaller than the others, unless you are just meticulous about your parting. So me, because I'm doing it on myself and it's kind of hard to self part, I start at the top and work my way down. So now I'm basically just trying to create this part. What you want to remember when you're parting your hair from the front to the back of your head is narrower than the top of your head. So your part in the back should always be smaller. Or not smaller, but not as wide as your braids in the front. So now that I have a rough guide, I will do just like I did a while ago. Take and clip this and use my mirror just to see if I'm satisfied with the spacing. So you see how this section is a lot more narrow. Then my braid at the top, I am satisfied with that. So I will take my shine and jam and run on this side of the part. This will just help my braid be crisp as well. So now that that is in there, I'm satisfied with the way my braid goes. I can see about how big I want this part to be. So I will start to break down my feed-in sections. My first one is always really, really teeny. I will lay that down on the counter. My second one's gonna be a little bit bigger. My third one's a little bit bigger as well. And then I will keep just pinching off a little bit of extra hair the further I get down. And I will set aside five feed-in sections per braid. And that should get me down to the back. I don't think I'll need 6, but we'll see with this first braid. So I will take my hair and split it into 3 strands. I will start to cornrow. Once I get my first 3, maybe 4 plaits, I take that very first section, the really, really teeny section, And I will lay it over top of my fingers. This first one I will take and place under between my index finger and my pointer. And I will start to braid that piece in. Once I go down 2 braids, that first piece, as you see, will be on the outside. I'll have a new piece that I will swap under in the middle. And I will continue to braid down. All right, so as you guys can see, I'm about halfway done with my head. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cornrows on this side of my head. I'm going to try to do 7 on the other side, keeping the parting and the spacing equal. This is what it's looking like from the back. As you can see, I've got them to lay really, really flat down to where the nape of my neck goes, so I'm really satisfied with that. This is all the hair that I have left out of one pack, so I'm going to move into pack number 2 now. And I'm going to start parting from the middle and work my way down to my ear, the same as I did on the opposite side, just so I can have the braids that are right in the center of my head evenly spaced, because that one by my ear, the size may vary depending on how my parting goes. But I'm going to try to keep it very even, just like I did on the other side. I'm going to twist that hair back out of the way. Put my clip on. Then we're going to use my mirror to check that part. Satisfied with it, so I'm going to take my Shine and Jam and run it down the part of my hair. I'm going to show you how we section that off again. We're going to take about 4 small sections that I use to feed in for the entire cornrow. So we're going to start the braid right at the front of the hair. Once I get about 2 or 3 plaits down, I will grab that first small section of hair and I will begin to feed that in. As you guys can see, I'll place the first piece between my index and my thumb, and I'll braid that in, keeping that piece dangling towards the front. Then I will flip that down in the middle and continue to follow that braid back. Once I get back about 2 or 3 more braids, I will grab the next piece of hair and begin to feed that in. Keeping that piece dangling in the front so that I can feed it again in the middle. Once I go back about 2 or 3 plaits. Then I'll grab my next piece. Feed her in as well. I'm grabbing my 4th piece of hair and I'm going to feed that in now. That has given me my desired thickness for the cornrow. So I can choose not to feed another piece in, but I am going to feed one more piece in just for the length towards the back of my head. So that is piece number 5 on this cornrow. So right in the middle of my head, I did feed in 5. Oh wait, I'm grabbing number 6. Okay, maybe I did. I fed in 6 small pieces in the middle of my head towards the ear. The closer I got down towards the ear, obviously there's less distance to braid, so that's where I did the 4 feed-ins. So 6 towards the middle, 4 towards the outside. And as you guys can see, I am just braiding it all the way down now to the end. And then I am going to be sealing these ends with hot water. So braid, 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 braid. Pardon me. Checking that I'm satisfied at how flat the braid laid. I'm satisfied with it. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up this section and I'll be back. Voila, look at there. I am finished, ladies. I am taking my scissors now and just cutting any frayaways right along at the top of my hair. Then I'm going to take my Lot of Body Mousse and I'm going to rub that down the cornrows just so I can mold it and make sure that all those extra flyaways I could not see or snip lay flat, as well as I'm going to run it down the base of the hair. Then I'm going to grab my do-rag head tie thingy that I got from my local beauty supply store, and I'm just going to lay it down to help kind of move that hair in place. So while I have that molded in place, I'm going to grab my towel. I have a cup of boiling hot water that I did in my kettle, and I'm going to dip my ends. Dip, 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 dip. This water is going to be extremely hot, so make sure you have your towel by and handy so that you can drain that excess water off. And I'm going to take the other side. I'm going to dip, 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 dip. Dip, 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 dip. And then I'm going to squeeze it out with my towel just to take the excess water away. Now that I have my ends all nice and sealed, I'm going to take a little bit more Lot of Body Mousse and I'm going to run it down the ends of the cornrows just to make sure that those are sealed or locked into place. Now that I have my ends dipped and I've had time for my do-rag to sit for a little bit and set that hair, I'm going to take it off. And now I'm going to slay these edges, honey. I'm going to be using my edge booster. I think I'm using Sweet Peach in Maximum Hold. Just going to place a little bit of that around my edges. I don't really do a whole bunch of baby hairs and then leave a lot out. This is just what I have. Over time, as it loosens up and some more of my edges decide to come out, then, you know, I have more edges to slay. But for right now, this is what I'm working with. Then I'm going to take my Wild Girl oil and I'm going to run some of that down my scalp. I forgot to open it, so I got to take that foil off. This is a brand new bottle. And I'm just going to moisturize my scalp. So I'm going to insert some pictures at the end of this video of how my hair turned out. I really, really enjoyed it. It was really convenient. It worked really well for my time away at training for work. So I hope you ladies like. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for joining for the ride.